I don't know if any of you guys have been following what's been going on in Oroville or whatever, but apparently they have a dam that is having some technical difficulties, so to speak. And there's been a million different articles on it, and a bunch of different people have written about it. Um, but this article here had a little bit of a different take on it, so I thought that was kind of interesting. I wanted to share that with everybody. So this is from the LA Times. Oroville hoping dam crisis won't cripple tourist economy. It was just a week ago that this city in the shadow of America's tallest dam was in a state of crisis. The town of 19,000 had been evacuated, along with dozens of other towns downstream from the dam, amid concerns the emergency spillway at the Oroville Dam might collapse, causing a massive flood. Now, the crisis has eased, and the residents of Oroville are beginning to mull how to move forward as the camera crews begin to depart and the national spotlight moves elsewhere. Not far from the main drag through Oroville, a dozen local business owners and city officials faced each other in a hotel lunchroom Tuesday to begin the process of developing an advertising campaign to transform a barrage of negative images and news reports about frantic efforts to prevent the risk of catastrophic flooding into a lucrative tourism attraction, albeit after the Feather River Basin's rainy season ends in April. So they're literally trying to capitalize on the fact that they've got this broken dam that has this spillway that they've really never had to even use before. That's damaged, and I mean, it looks like freaking Niagara Falls or something. It does look pretty gnarly. At the dam itself, officials said they got through the latest storm fine. Residents were allowed back into their homes last week, and officials said they believed the situation had stabilized. With the heaviest surge from a week of storms over, state officials said Tuesday they are once again considering shutting off water to the Oroville Dam's eroded main spillway to assess damage to the site and bring a nearby power plant back online. And with this dam, it was pretty crazy because they had, I think like 200,000 people had to be evacuated. And they basically, they were saying that, if things really went wrong, that these towns could be under like 100 feet of water. So that would suck. Screw that. But on another note, I'm not a huge fan of the infrastructure plan that Donald Trump has proposed. I mean, it's like $1 trillion stimulus infrastructure plan, even more than Obama did. So just on its face, I'm kind of a little nervous about that. But when you look at things like the Oroville Dam, that's, he's going around, Trump's going around saying, we got broken down bridges and roads and all this stuff, and this dam was definitely helping to build his case, especially because the Democrats, Governor Jerry Brown in California, he'd actually basically ignored this situation and kind of allowed it to happen. Really, it could have been prevented. So moving on to another story. This one's from the New York Times. I thought this one was kind of funny. Danes fighting for ISIS were paid welfare benefits, government says. So literally, we're paying for ISIS with our food stamps and stuff now. Well, not us. This is the Danes, but I don't doubt that that's going on here either. The Danish government has been inadvertently paying benefits to citizens fighting for the Islamic State in Syria. Danish officials said Tuesday, as outrage grows that militants are manipulating the country's generous welfare system. About 145 Danes have traveled to Syria or Iraq to fight for militant groups since 2012, according to the Danish Security and Intelligence Services. Officials said this week that they had identified a number of Danish citizens who, while receiving government disability pensions, had traveled to Syria to join the Islamic State, known as ISIS. And I mean, there's just so many different problems going on in Europe right now with the migrant crisis that's going on, and I mean, this is kind of a unique unique situation. You got these people on welfare that are literally traveling abroad to learn to become jihadi terrorists, and paid for with taxpayer dollars. That's lovely. Quote, It is a huge scandal that we are paying out money from welfare funds in Denmark to people who are going to Syria and elsewhere in the world to undermine democracy that we have been fighting for over 100 years, the country's Minister of Labor, Troels Lund Poulsen, said. Officials said that last year municipal and state authorities have been trying to collect about $95,000 in welfare benefits that had been wrongly paid to 29 citizens who had gone to Syria to fight for ISIS. Senior Labor Ministry officials said Tuesday that the center-right government of Prime Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen was planning to pass legislation to plug loopholes and prevent what they called an egregious misuse of public funds. Yes, I would say that's an egregious misuse of public funds for sure. I just have one question. Can you get uranium with a food stamp card? I don't know. Just wondering. Until now, regulations have made it difficult for authorities to stop benefit payments to a suspected militant, even if the person had been identified by the intelligence services as an ISIS fighter. Officials said investigating the circumstances of individuals in Syria or Iraq was logistically challenging. Under the proposed legislation, any citizen deemed a national security risk after traveling abroad to join the Islamic State would have his or her benefits immediately halted, said Bent Nielsen, an official who oversees how welfare benefits are distributed. I mean, I don't even understand why a law like that would be in the books. You know, if someone travels to Syria, you think they may be a security threat, but you still got to keep paying them welfare. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, really, you know, this is why there's so many. This is a big reason why there's so many right-wing, quote unquote, populist movements basically spreading throughout Europe. You know, you've got like Marie Le Pen in France, who's pushing for, you know, closing up the borders, for dissolving the European Union, and all this other stuff. And I think it's actually pretty funny because France has never had a woman president before. And I remember not too long ago, I'm old enough to remember not too long ago when old crooked Hillary was running, where if you didn't want her to be the first female president, then you're a horrible, sexist bigot. So I wonder where all those voices are now talking about Marie Le Pen. They're not, because she doesn't fit into the radical left-wing mold like Hillary Clinton. Well, Hillary Clinton was basically just a mercenary in my view, but she'll go to the highest bidder basically, which is people like Saudi Arabia who definitely want to proliferate the spread of ISIS. Now, moving on, we move to an article from The Hill, and John McCain actually came out recently, and he's a hater. He's a bitter old man. He got defeated very thoroughly by Barack Obama 8 years ago, and he's just a bitter, angry old man who really would just love to, you know, throw us into World War III, and he's upset that he can't do that. So he's running around bitching. And from The Hill, Rand Paul says, "We're very lucky John McCain's not in charge." Yes, indeedy. Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky ripped fellow Republican Senator John McCain on Sunday after McCain criticized President Trump's escalating war of words with the media. He argued that the nation is very lucky that Trump is president and not McCain, who won the 2008 GOP nomination but lost to Barack Obama in the general election. Paul said that McCain's recent criticisms of Trump are driven by his, quote, personal dispute with the president over foreign policy. Everything that he says about the president is colored by his own personal dispute he's got running with President Trump, and it should be taken with a grain of salt, because John McCain's the guy who's advocated for war everywhere, all the time. Paul said on ABC's The Week, "He would bankrupt the nation. We're very lucky John McCain's not in charge, because I think we'd be in perpetual war." Most definitely, John McCain is a crazy old neocon who basically just wants World War III with Russia, and he's upset because Trump has said some things that were too nice to old John McCain about him being a POW, and you know, whatever, who knows. I've heard different sides of that story. I've heard he sang like a canary. I've heard he's, a war hero, all this other stuff. Who knows? I respect the troops 100%. So I don't really want to, get into that. But, it's just funny that every time, Trump says something about somebody, I mean, it just becomes the biggest deal in the world. And they actually tried to sink, that was one of the things that they tried to sink Trump. I mean, all throughout the campaign, they were trying to take him down, for one reason after another. But then when these McCain comments came out, man, they just rolled with that. They thought that was going to be the end of Donald Trump. One of the many times they thought that was going to be the end of Donald Trump. Guess what? He's the president. McCain, in an interview with NBC's Meet the Press, warned that the suppression of a free press can lead to a dictatorial regime. He made the comments after Trump tweeted on Friday that the media is the enemy of the American people. He didn't just say the media, he actually named specific outlets, and I agree with those outlets that he pointed out. They are indeed the enemy of the American people. That can be proven to be so, in my view. McCain has also harshly criticized Trump's expressed respect for Russian President Vladimir Putin, and has suggested earlier this month that the United States does not have the moral authority to criticize Russia's human rights record. Paul said that there has been no effort by the Trump administration to suppress the media, noting that no legislation has been offered to curb press freedoms. Exactly, not like Barack Obama, who actually tried to jail journalists. He tried to go after journalists. He wiretapped, some Fox News journal. I forget his name, but he literally wiretapped the guy. I mean, Obama was definitely somebody who was trying to suppress to suppress news and media outlets that he did not agree with. He would call out Fox News by name, Fox News reporters by name, and he would always take softball questions by reporters. The same thing they're now, accusing Trump of, even though he's getting, attacked constantly and always getting asked the tough questions, quote unquote, which are really just annoying questions over and over again. Paul argued that McCain has a history of being wrong on major foreign policy questions. Quote, I would say John McCain's been wrong on just about everything on the last 4 decades. He advocated for the Iraq War, which I think destabilized the Middle East. If you look at the map, there's probably at least 6 different countries where McCain has advocated for us having boots on the ground. So yes, John McCain is a crazy old person. I think he shot someone in the face when he was hunting. I'm pretty sure that was John McCain. He shot someone in the face when he was hunting, and then they did this whole press thing where the guy he shot in the face actually came out and apologized to John McCain for getting shot in the face. So that's the kind of person we're dealing with here. just to let you know. And moving on, in an article from the Daily Caller, exclusive, Obama's feds tried to hack Indiana's election system while Pence was governor. Oh snap. Department of Homeland Security DHS officials tried to hack Indiana's state electoral system with at least 14,800 scans or hits between November 1st, 2016 to December 16th, 2016. The Daily Caller News Foundation investigative group has learned. The attacks on the second confirmed IT scanning assault by DHS officials against states that resisted then President Barack Obama's attempt to increase federal involvement in state and local election systems by designating them as critical infrastructure for national security. Members of the National Association of Secretaries of State voted Saturday at their winter meeting to oppose the designation. They asked that President Donald Trump to overturn it. Former Indiana Governor Mike Pence was also Former Indiana Governor Mike Pence was also Trump's vice presidential-elect during much of the period covered by the DHS scans of the Indiana system. Indiana Secretary of State Connie Lawson, the incoming president of the association, told the DCNF Tuesday that, well, we know that between November 1st and December 16th, we were scanned about 14,800 scans, nearly 15,000 times. And it's really interesting that the only narrative that you ever hear about is how Russia supposedly hacked our elections, how they hacked, well, that's the implication. They actually when you actually look at the evidence, there really is no evidence that's been brought forward that it was actually Russia that did really any of this. I mean, you really have to take the intelligence communities at their word on this. They're not providing solid evidence, or solid proof at least. It's all very vague, and you got to remember, this is the same set of intelligence agencies that have gotten it wrong before. You know, when we were going to war with Iraq, the whole idea was that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. That was the best, quote unquote, best intelligence of all our intelligence agencies, and we went to war basically based on based on that recommendation that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, and it turns out that that was completely, absolutely, 100% wrong. So, not to mention, this is an intelligence community and a prior administration that has been quite open about the fact that they don't approve of Donald Trump. So there's definitely a vested interest there, and you definitely have to take it all with a grain of salt. The state's IT team traced the intruder to a DHS computer's IP address. The same DHS unit attempted 10 times in 2016 to hack into the Georgia electoral system. Federal officials are barred under DHS rules from trying to penetrate a state system without the express approval of the state. Neither Georgia nor Indiana approved the DHS scanning attempts. Didn't stop them from trying. And moving on now, in an article from The Hill, Americans are brimming with optimism on the economy. That's right. Old Trump's got the money bags going around. Let's make it rain, guys. Let's make it rain. Let's make America ballin' again. A strong majority of Americans say the U.S. economy is running strong, and most believe the upward trend will continue under President Trump, according to a Harvard-Harris poll provided exclusively to The Hill. The survey found that 61% view the economy as strong, against 39% who say it is weak. A plurality, 42%, say they believe the economy is on the right track, versus 39% who say it is on the wrong track. Trump and congressional Republicans have claimed credit for the turnaround, noting numerous polls in 2016 that showed that many Americans wanted change in the nation's capital. Democrats countered that former President Obama handed a healthy economy to Trump and pointed out that the unemployment rate has dropped under 5%. At a press conference on Thursday, Trump said that he inherited a mess. Trump has indeed inherited a mess. The 5% statistic, that is only true if you only count people who have only been looking for a job for about a month or so. If you take into account people who have been looking for work longer than that, it's at least 10%. And then you got to take into account the fact that so many people have actually went from full-time employment to part-time employment. You got to look at the fact that people are getting actually paid less. They're getting paid lower wages in a lot of cases. They're working lower wage jobs. You got to look at the labor, the labor participation rate, which is the lowest it's been in a long, long time. There are serious problems. I mean, we haven't had, he's the first president ever to not get 1 year of 3% GDP growth. I mean, and he's sitting here talking about how great the economy is. So that's pretty spectacular to me. And the stock market has gained like $2 trillion in the last like a month or a couple months. I mean, it's like record breaking. And in my view, it's because they know the incoming administration is going to be cutting corporate taxes. They're going to be deregulating. They're going to be doing all these things to make it a better, business, a better climate for businesses in America to actually prosper. So that's why I think there's all this investment and all this stuff. I mean, it's amazing that, Democrats are trying to say, oh, Obama passed a healthy economy on. That's something else. Among Republicans surveyed in the Harvard-Harris poll, 60% are satisfied with the economic trajectory and 23% are dissatisfied. Only 33% of Democrats said the economy is on the right track, while 48% said it is heading in the wrong direction. At 65%, Trump voters are likeliest to say the economy is headed in the right direction. It's really a surprising turnaround given how negative voters have been about the economy since 2009, said Mark Penn, co-director of the Harvard-Harris poll. But jobs remain the #1 issue, and a lot of the change in sentiment anticipates tax cuts and infrastructure programs. Exactly. The stock market is soaring, and the January marked the 76th consecutive month of job growth. The economy added 227,000 new jobs in January, far greater than the 175,000 economists had expected. In an interview with The Hill last month, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell criticized Obama's record, saying under his watch, the country, quote, didn't have a single year of 3% growth, and the statute of limitations on blaming former President George W. Bush ran out a long time ago. He said the stock market is rising because of the expectation of regulatory relief and tax reform. Look at that, Mitch McConnell actually making some sense. The online survey of 2,148 registered Democrats was conducted between February 11th and February 13th. The partisan breakdown is 39% Democrat, 30% Republican, 27% Independent, and 5% other. The Harvard-Harris poll is a collaboration of the Harvard Center for American Political Studies and the Harris poll. And Trump is definitely someone who I think is going to be good for the economy in a lot of ways, cutting back on regulation, cutting back on taxes. I'm really looking forward to having the tax plan actually rolled out here soon, so I can really get a look at that and see what all that's going to bring to the table. But I think Trump's brought a lot of really good ideas forward, and I think the economy is going to do rather well under his administration. I definitely have some concerns. I have some worries, like I said, the $1 trillion infrastructure program that can go wrong in so many ways. But we'll just have to wait and see. So now moving on to my last story here from the Daily Wire. Just another little dose of hypocrisy from the left. There's no shortage of that, ever. Islamophobic Saudi Arabia deports 40,000 Muslim Pakistanis, citing terrorism concerns. Oh, those horrible Islamophobic Saudi Arabians. Man, they are just the worst, aren't they? Saudi Arabia has deported a staggering 40,000 Pakistani migrant workers in the span of just 4 months, citing terrorism concerns. The Saudi Gazette reported last week that a number of Pakistanis were held in the crimes of drug trafficking, theft, forgery, and physical assault. Authorities feared that some of the migrant workers were linked with ISIS, or as the Saudis call the terror group, Daesh. Other migrants were deported due to expired residency and work permits. And I think it's absolutely amazing that people in the West, people in the United States get called Islamophobic, they get called xenophobic, they get called they're racist, even though Islam's not a race. All this other stuff because we are worried about Islamic terrorism. And you're not going to hear anything in the mainstream media about this. You're just not, because it doesn't fit with the narrative. They're not going to sit there and call Saudi Arabians racist and xenophobic and Islamophobic and all this stuff, because it's absurd and it would completely destroy the argument that they're trying to prop up, which isn't really an argument at all. It's virtue signaling, as really all it is, and trying to basically play on weak-minded people, to get them to believe something. They're like the stormtroopers in Episode 4 when Obi-Wan's like, these are not the droids you're looking for. They basically hope that is going to work on you. They hope that the simplest of Jedi mind tricks will work on you. My recommendation is don't be a stormtrooper. Don't be a stormtrooper. Aspire higher. Work your way up. Work your way up there. At least be one of those dudes with the weird helmet that like operates the Death Star. I'm just saying. Come on, man. Aspire to something greater. But official Saudi statistics say that 243,000 Pakistanis were deported between 2012 and 2015, reports The Independent. Mass deportations of migrant workers, which Human Rights Watch and other rights organizations say often involve illegal beatings and detainment in poor conditions, are fairly common. So again, horrible treatment of these Muslim Pakistanis. And you're not going to hear anything about it from the regressive left because it doesn't fit into their little narrative and their twisted little worldview. So, with that, I will bid you all adieu. I hope you enjoyed this video. There will definitely be more to come. Like I've been saying for a little while now, I want to start doing these videos on a more regular basis. I've just been working quite a lot, and I've had some other things going on, so it's been a little hard to squeeze these in. But yeah, definitely I will be working towards making these more frequent. So I hope you enjoyed, and please subscribe if you enjoyed this and want to see more. And I hope you have yourself a wonderful day. May the force be with you.